From the Multifamily Studios in Scottsdale, Arizona, with Patrick and Carrie Antrim. Live today in Multifamily.
All right.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today.
Well, good morning and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, yes, that's right.
Yeah, those of you on the East Coast, good afternoon to you. Maybe you're having lunch. I don't know. We haven't even had breakfast yet.
No,
So.
no, we haven't.
I was in the studio at 4 a.m. No, I was. That's not true.
No, you
5
were
a.m.
up at 4.
Yeah,
and here
I was up at
5,
4 a.m.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of you on here. This is great. Go ahead and put in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. If you're watching on live.multifamilystudios.com, off to the right, just put in the state that you're watching from. I know those are going to
Looks like we've already got Alabama, California, Arizona in the house. So welcome, welcome.
Yes, and some of those might be tuning in over on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you're over there, just drop a note in the comments so we can just kind of get a sense of where you guys come in from. I want to just tell you today, we just have some energy, have some positive energy. We need that with everything that we're working through, if that be changes or perhaps thinking about the customers that we're serving, the changes that they might be happening with them in their lives, their world, right? Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, go ahead and put in there, just let us know. I know there's a lot more of you on there that are not entering that, but
I see Texas coming through.
Yeah,
Usually
Texas always comes through.
Yep.
So what do we have today?
All right, well, did you want to introduce us? I don't think.
Go ahead.
If we have new viewers. My name is Carrie Antrim. This is my husband, Patrick Antrim. We are the founders of Multifamily Leadership, and we come to you live every Friday from our studio here in Scottsdale. So we're just happy that you can join us today and spend a little bit of time together.
Yes, coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about some good stuff here. We're going to be bringing up on our first segment the disruption happening right now and how we learn and what might be changing with that. Also, why trade shows don't work and what to do instead. We'll be talking about that. And then the cloud isn't eating jobs. You've heard this, AI, the cloud, technology, that it's eating jobs. We're talking about departments being re-envisioned. So not just jobs, but maybe departments. So we'll see what your role can look like as you re-envision what business looks like, not only for our business, but also those that support the residents, right? They're also going through the same disruptions. So we'll talk about that. Hashtag Multifamily Live, we can do that.
Yep.
If you hashtag Multifamily Live, we can pick up those comments. If that's on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you are, let us know that you're watching. Let us know that you're getting value from these shows. Each week we try and bring you experts and extract their knowledge, share it on our platform, so you can take your business and career to the next level. Looks like Florida's winning the
Florida's
hustle
winning
here.
the game today.
Yeah, Florida. What else? We've got Alabama, California.
Someone says another
from Texas. All
I
right,
like that.
all
That's
right,
funny.
all right. Good stuff.
All right. Oh, we've got someone, Adam Schaefer from Scottsdale, Arizona. Hey, Adam.
Hey,
awesome.
right
Thanks
in our backyard.
joining us on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
that's great.
We'll have to bring Adam in the studio one day. I don't know. Not too far from us, probably.
Yeah. All right. So should we talk about the new summit?
Yeah. So why don't you open it up? We'll talk about. You're exciting. You're working with a lot of new speakers.
Yes, I'm really excited. So we've just launched the Multifamily Operations Summit, and we have so many great speakers lined up, and we have more coming in. I mean, even as we speak, we're still working out the final details, but it's going to be a pretty incredible event, I think.
Yeah, it's incredible. Now, these are not speakers that you've seen other places. Mm-hmm. We're doing some really interesting things with our media company to be able to make this happen. It will not feel like a Zoom webinar or anything else that you've ever seen. This is truly going to have the same values and experiences that those have been involved in our high-level events, but we'll be able to broadcast this live to many, many people around the world, really, and it just blows my mind with the amount of support, the amount of people that are registering and getting excited about the things that we need to know now. And it's not all about the COVID. It's not all about the coronavirus or all the things that are obvious. These are the things that can shift you into next level leadership for you personally and also for your company. So you definitely want to head over there. That's multifamilyopsummit.com.
Multifamily Op Summit, opsummit.com. The best part is, it's a free event, so just get signed up for that and join us. It's June 24th and 25th.
Yep. And I think we have a clip. You want to roll a quick
let's
clip?
roll
It's not of the summit, but it can kind of give you an idea of
what
our last
expect.
award show. So.
Where are you watching from? We would love to know.
This is a time where our employees need us most. This is a time where that feedback is important.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today.
De-risk those as you think about these investment choices.
That we find out where our vulnerabilities are before somebody else does.
At Checkpoint, we're scanning that barcode, we're giving you perfect information.
But letting you unlock the power of SmartTag.
When you talk about what we're doing to trade shows, it's like it's trade show as a service.
This last growth, everybody grew so quickly, right? And grew big and heavy, and you had to keep up.
This is an amazing place you've got.
Well, thank you.
Interesting. I got to tell you, what Tanner was talking about, the growth. I mean, we've been in this growth mode, growth mindset, and a lot of times, being agile and nimble in a market, maybe even being the largest and the biggest, has been a hard thing in our current state of affairs. But we'll be talking a little bit about the disruption of how we're learning and what things are changing and what you can do to be more personally involved in not only getting this done for your company, but also thinking bigger about where you want to take your career.
Yeah.
And so I've got some notes here. Anything you want to recap that?
But yeah,
on
before
that
we
video?
start with our next segment, I just want to let you guys know if you have any questions for Patrick or you can feel free to type them in. If you're on live.multifamilystudios.com, there's a chat, an engagement area to the right there. You can type in your questions. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, feel free to type those in. Same thing with Facebook. I am monitoring all of them. So.
I can see it too.
And he
I can see it too.
Yeah. So
we can see you. We can see you.
So feel free to chime in.
So what I'd like to open up with is this idea of, we've been talking a lot about disruption, being disruptive. In previous summits, we've always focused on where things are going and not only the technologies, but what businesses can do to prepare for what's next. But we always think about, our company. And sometimes you're an employee at an organization, you might not have the opportunity because you may say, I think this thing is awesome. I think this thing is what the residents need and I'm on board, but there, something happens and maybe the company's like, oh, we're not ready. We're going to do a disposition or an acquisition and let's do that later. And maybe you don't have control because you don't own the company. Oftentimes, third-party managers have multiple owners and getting approvals, and so there's some complexity to actually doing what you want to do in this business. And what I've learned through this process is that so many companies are structured in so many different ways that the one thing you can do yourself is be accountable to your own personal growth and development. And I think right now, organizations, the CFOs are in charge, right? They're the ones saying, hey, stop spending, let's figure this out. Where are we going with this? What are our cash flows? What's the runway that we have? And stop spending, right? Stop buying stuff, right? But maybe some of the stuff you need to buy can make a problem go away. And at the same time, we're saying, hey, rent more apartments, do more things, grow. Even the suppliers and the vendor partners, it's like, hey, we're on a freeze here. But then at the same time, we also want more clients because revenue does solve all business challenges. And so I think the main thing is, the first thing that's changing right now is the education system. If you think about maybe your children are at home right now. And before that, I know, Carrie, we've been talking about, should Riley or Stephen or Nora, whoever it may be in the family, should they perhaps homeschool, do online school? They've always had these great big creative ideas. And we're like, man, we're seeing some of the frustrations just with the stuff we're learning, the way we're learning it, but now we're forced into this environment. So the question is, like, now that you've tested all assumptions, like, do we go back? What do you think? Do you go back?
Well, it's interesting because, especially, you mentioned our kids, we've got 4, together here, and I think, for some of them, there's absolutely some benefits to this online. Like, I think having, like you said, being forced to explore these other ways of learning has really opened my mind to what works best for each of our individual children. And I can imagine that that's similar for employees and associates working from home. Like, there might be some major benefits to that. And there might not be, depending on the person, depending on the job that they do. I think it's been a really interesting stress test.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up some really good points there, because I know just in our preview discussions with our speakers for the Ops Summit, Multifamily Operations Summit, that came up, which is like, hey, we've been so activity-driven, we've been so transaction-driven, but now let's shift to results. And like, we have Riley getting stuff done in 2 hours. Like, he doesn't have to go trade his time in 8 hours of school. So all of that is being disrupted. I would encourage you to just kind of think differently, right? Think beyond what you're used to. Think beyond what your friends are used to, your associates are used to, because I'll tell you, whatever got you here is not what's going to get you there, right? And in a lot of ways, our industry has let us down, right? The information has not received us. We have not been able to shift behaviors by just providing transactional training. And so we got to think differently and take personal responsibility for our own career. And what I mean by that is, don't wait for an event to get going, right? You have one of these things. You have a phone in your pocket. You have Google. You have YouTube. You have ways to find solutions to the biggest problems your company has, or maybe you have. And so I'm just encouraging you to say, I don't need a designation, right, to get a job. In fact, a lot of the designations are training on jobs that won't exist. And we'll talk about that later in the show. But I'll encourage you just to say, we're all entrepreneurs, and if we think of ourselves as individual entrepreneurs, then it's just how you get paid is by your company, right? So if you have multiple flows of income, are you worried right now about your job? If you had passive income because you've been making millions and millions of dollars for the people that you work for, did you take enough time on the weekends to buy your first fourplex, or get into a deal as a passive investor, or save enough money to do that? So think about that for a minute. So back up, you have all the information. You are, a badass at multifamily. You're creating wealth for teachers and firefighters and people that are in pension funds, financial investment vehicles. And while you're so focused on making those results happen, you have to take personal responsibility, say, let's level up, let's win for me, because now I'm winning for me, now I'm showing up better for my employer, because guess what? I don't have to be here. I'm here because I want to be here. And we do the research on the best places to work multifamily, and I will tell you that the reason why they get high levels of engagement is because the people choose to be at those organizations. And they do that because some of those organizations recruit and develop and protect culture in a way that people have options, okay? But right now, there's a shift happening, okay? And that shift is that if you look at it like supply and demand, in the 2008 Great Recession, when credit markets collapsed and lots of people lost jobs, 2 million, 2.5 million people lost jobs, whatever that number might have been. Someone researched that for me, but now I think we're 10, 20, 30 million. I don't even know how many millions, but multiple people not working as a result of the different type of disruption, right? Nobody planned for. And so what are you doing to be, creative, thinking about opportunities, that might be available to you for your employer? Because I can tell you corporations are thinking, oh my gosh, how do I hold on? How are things going to be different? They've got multiple pressures. They got the customer pressure, you got the investor pressure, you got the employee-based pressure. But if our customers are not working and not getting paid, then that puts pressure on. If you're, a third-party manager, not getting, if there's no revenue coming in, then or revenue's not growing like it used to, then you can obviously see where these things can happen. So everything that you're doing as an individual, you have to take personal responsibility for your own personal growth. Don't wait for your company to train you. There are things that your company has to train you about how they do things, right? Like if you work for Apple or Verizon or T-Mobile, they have a certain way, a certain login, a certain transactional thing, and that's part of the onboarding. But those are not the things that get you promoted. What gets you promoted is for you to be somebody that can say, hey, listen, I can go into any situation regardless of the size of the company or portfolio or property and make an impact because A, I know how to collect great people together. I know how to engage them, get them working great so they can show up and sell more for the customer. If you can figure out how to drive more revenue for a company in today's world, thinking about the pains of the customer, giving them certainty and those types of things, then you're going to be just a valuable asset, regardless of the market, regardless of what happens in if things shape back up or the growth period, whatever. This is a great opportunity to be thinking like, I should always be thinking like this. I spent 15 years creating results inside an organization for other companies, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I was like, the only way I worked 15 years for somebody else in a lot of cases was because there was an opportunity for me to innovate inside a company, feel like an entrepreneur, right? So I would encourage you to think like every day you're a corporation, you have income and you have expenses, and the more value you create for a company, the more opportunity you're going to have. So take your eye off like, I'm scared, I'm uncertain, what are they going to do, where's the market, where are things going, and just know like, pay attention to the problems, the biggest problems that your company's customers have. Figure out how to solve those problems and be that leader that's, excited and like, all right, this is our current situation. May not be good, but I know this is where we want to go, and I'm going to be the one to get you there. Just like when you go on your phone, it's like, hey, look, I know this is my current situation. If I want to go to Costco, I put in the address, boom, I click the button and I get there. So that's what you've got to be thinking. Like, what is the current situation? If it's ugly, then that is what it is. If it's great, awesome. But whatever it is, think about how you can be that leader to bring value where others can't, right? So think about that. Now, backing up into this sort of entrepreneurial mindset is, every day an entrepreneur wakes up and thinks, how do I create value for somebody in the marketplace, and that's how they end up getting paid, right? So if you come with that mindset instead of I have a job, do I have it? I have a job, how do I keep it? Where's it going? Am I going to get the promotion? My role has shifted. Think like an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs don't have income unless they first create value first, right? Solving problems, taking complexity away, giving people their time back, whatever that might be, but that's what entrepreneurs do. Now, Dan Sullivan has a great quote, or it's not a quote, it's what he says, and in his research across the world around entrepreneurs and helping them scale their business is that an entrepreneur takes something from low levels of productivity to higher levels of productivity, right? Sometimes we think entrepreneurs are on Instagram or they're the risk takers or they own a business. But literally, if you can take a company and operate, if you're a leasing agent, CEO, whatever that might be, low levels of productivity and increase the levels of productivity, you're basically an entrepreneur. So I'm just saying to you, pay attention to what's happening. These are really good opportunities to show up, create some value for others. And that's also why we've created Multifamily Studios. For many years, we've been talking about the future being one that innovation collides with technology. And we've also been talking about video and how video allows somebody to learn about a product. We've been focused on story. We've been focused on movies. You've been to some of our summits. We show some really inspiring movies that we remember back when we were 8 years old. And that's what will happen with a story. You'll remember it for 40 years. And so as we learn, there are things going to change. Okay, you just can't go to a webinar anymore. It's not information overload anymore, right? How do you get somebody to change behavior? How do you get someone to make a shift? And you just can't keep informing them of things, right? And so pay attention to what's happening, where the noise is, and be the person that differentiates. So now I'm going to show you something. Many of you are subscribed already, but on Multifamily Studios, I have it here on my screen. I'm going to pull it up here. And on my screen here, you can see Multifamily Studios, right? So what we've done here is we've created a platform like Netflix, but for multifamily experts. So our goal is to extract your knowledge. And I'm not talking about people that are training in PowerPoint decks with clip art. I'm talking about leaders that are getting it done in the marketplace, where our media company is out finding, discovering original content, people outside the industry, innovators, these types of things, and extracting their knowledge. We're producing that in a high level, and we're giving it to you, so then you don't have to go out and join a trade association just to attend an event and then pay for that event and then see that once a month or once a year. We're bringing this content to you in a way that you're familiar with experiencing the world, right? And so over the years, we've been collecting our leadership summits, our special innovation talks, all of these things, and they're in there. I think we passed, 300 shows here. I'm going to just scroll through here, and you can kind of see these are the live shows that you're watching now, actually. If you want to watch past shows, we have a swim lane, as we call them. But we have original studios shows where we've got original content. We're going out, property tours. We're going out and we're seeing shows out in the properties, right? We've got the affordable housing crisis, rent control, legislation issues, all kinds of things that you can't find anywhere else. In addition, we're collecting, innovation showcases, right? Brands that are introducing smart technology that could actually help you in your business, and you just don't have time to go around and learn all these things. So our goal is to bring it to you for less than what it costs for a cup of coffee. But anyway, head over to multifamilystudios.com and you can get a free trial. Check it out, look around, and start taking the time to level up your career and do it in a way, the theme of what we're doing here is this is really about, like, if you went to coffee with your mentor. I mean, we have dinner talks.
Right.
Right, we've taken people to lunch, and we just bring the cameras. If you've seen, was it Jerry Seinfeld's
Comedians in cars getting coffee? I think is what it's
we
called,
do the
yeah.
same thing, and it's with leaders that
minus the fancy cars.
right, and we get them into flow state, and they talk about how they're building their brands, what they're doing to make things different. And if you are a leader, right, and you have something, a lease up that we can follow, whatever that might be. Reach out to us. We're certainly looking to change the way people learn and experience education in the business.
I'm going to jump in real quick. I just want to give some shout outs. We've got over here on LinkedIn, we've got Jim from Portland, Oregon. Thanks for joining us, Jim. We've got Demetrius in the house. Thanks for joining us, Demetrius. And then on...
Who is Demetrius? Which
Demetrius Barnes.
Oh, Smart Rent.
Sorry.
All right.
Yes. And then on Facebook, We have David Morales from Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks for joining us. We got Georgia in the house. And then Jamin says, personal accountability. You are on spot, Patrick. Don't be a victim. Don't wait around for training. Figure it out and self-lead. You become a leader when you bring value where others can't.
I absolutely love that. That
I
doesn't
thought you
surprise me
would.
coming from Jamin. But I can tell you what's exciting about that is he's multiplying leaders right now.
Yes.
He's stepped up and he's producing a show pretty much, right? A private thing, really solving big problems for big issues and big companies. And really been a great leader for that. And many of you already know that he does a weekly call. You can reach out to Jamin. He's in the comments. But that's an example of just stepping up and doing things differently. And again, what got us here is not what's going to get us there.
Right.
And that's an example of somebody doing something differently. And that's the new way, right? Like that's a new way of collecting leadership.
And
It's
he
all
was
about,
really proactive right off the bat.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
this is what's happening. This is what I need. How do I bridge the gap?
Right.
And he took massive action.
Yeah, and I see him on the emails. I see a lot of great people doing great things, supporting that too, like suppliers, vendors, industry partners. You have, a great group. They've done a great job curating all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, awesome stuff. Thank you guys for in the comments. Glad to see you guys there. Now, I want to talk to you about one more thing here, and that is why trade shows don't work and what to do instead. Is this a big topic for me?
I think this is a big topic for you.
So let me show
I
you
think you're
something.
somewhat passionate about
A
it.
little bit passionate about it. So in our magazine, last year, I wrote an article, and the article was the end of trade shows, okay? And in this article, I spelled out a lot of things around where things were going. And honestly, it was a little bold because there's a lot of people that still do trade shows and they still count on that for how they get business, and that's fine. Honestly, if I had, when I started my business, stacks of cash, I probably would have did a trade show myself and then fell into that, pattern, and then everyone tells you like, oh, if you're not at a trade show, your clients won't buy stuff from you. That is the biggest myth and absolute professional malpractice advice you'll ever receive from a trade show experience. We have created our entire brand, millions of units coming through as clients. We've reached a national scale, global scale. We've reached top people, top brands in the industry without attending one single trade show. And so why do I tell you that is because it saddens me right now that there's products in the industry that can help people, and yet there's a standstill of how products can be introduced. Okay, and it's not just our industry. This is like the National Broadcasters Association. We were planning of going there in Vegas, a big event. Just came out of CES. There's, if you're a big brand like Samsung and these brands that make these sort of dramatic shows, and then Apple and those kinds of things, I get it. But if you look at the way Amazon, Tesla, Apple, Facebook, who launches products at trade shows? Number one, they only happen once a year, right? And then if you have a local one, they're only usually once a year. So what do you do? Wait a year to introduce a product? Well, the world is moving so fast, you can't wait a year to do that. The second disruption is you have the user conferences, right, evolving, because number one, your product is advancing so great, you're building and engineering in agile ways new products and opportunities that you have to actually create a conference to educate your own product. And so now think about your customer, not just to get the clients, but think about the executive who actually needs this stuff, right? And they need to talk to you. They have no way to do that because number one, right now they can't fly and do that. Secondly is there's too many things to go to. And then you just compound that with the amount of growth in cloud-based technologies and prop tech. You just can't have a user conference for every little thing, right? So I think that you've got to be thinking about how you get your information. When I was an executive running a portfolio across 13 states, it was my job to buy the right stuff, okay? And I can tell you there's a lot of people that only buy with the people that show up. And you know, you still have Google, you still have a phone, you still have ways to learn about products, but we kind of get comfortable. And we're like, oh, I'll wait till someone calls and takes me to lunch, or takes me out to dinner, or I attend a show, or there's a conference. And the reality is, that's all changed. Now we're not selling the future. We're like, hey, we're here in our November summit. We had 10 companies that dropped in, sponsors that wanted to exhibit. And we're like, look, you don't want to sponsor, you want to help your clients. I know that because that's why we chose you. We wouldn't have allowed you to do that unless you truly had the right alignment to truly help the clients. And so those companies were able to drop in, do a video, and when everything shut down, at least they had a vendor show, exhibitor show, to send to a client and say, hey, listen, you may not understand the smart home technology because it's complicated. There's a webinar every day on it, but hey, here's a link. Watch this. I've got 60 shows. We go through the customer, we go through the product, we go through from the founder, where things are going, how this is going to be different. And by the way, here's a video that we interviewed the property manager, how it impacted them, right? And then, oh, let's look at the product. So instead of saying it's great, let's just show them it's great. You know, moments ago, and even on last week's show, we demoed a product live on this show, right? And even today, I demoed our own Multifamily Studios, right? I'm not waiting for a trade show to do that. I'm going to market, and that's an exciting thing right now because the tools are available for us to do that. Now, here's the cool thing, and we'll link it up later in the comments, but you may not even know about this, but exhibitorhall.com will tell you everything you need to know about how to actually get that done, and maybe even perhaps if we can be of support with that. I'm happy to help those that have something that can solve a big business problem for a multifamily operator. If you can put your clients in a position to win right now, it's your duty, it's your obligation to do that. It's not about, oh, I don't want to, they've got so much going on. It's like, listen, you got something to help, break through the noise. Don't do another webinar because they're overwhelmed and fatigued and zoomed out, right? Show them how your product helps. I'm happy to be of help. I've been doing that. I'm the best in the world at that. And I can tell you that it's not where things are going. It's already here. And I'm excited because at some point I was like, man, am I crazy spending all this money on the media stuff and all that stuff? But honestly, as an event business, things would be very different had we not had a full production studio and already tested these things and put it to market and have the ROIs and the results, right? So I can tell you, if you've ever seen the quality of the event that we've ever produced and the quality of the executives that come through that and the brands that support us, you'll understand that what I'm talking about is very important. And it's time to say, all right, let's think about this differently.
Let me tell you, Patrick, that Chris Mott says you are like a wizard with a crystal ball. The timing of this platform is so on point, it's uncanny. This show is a perfect example of what you're talking about right now. Thanks, Chris.
Yes, and again, good marketing, it pushes people away as much as it attracts. And Chris is one of those ones that just what we do is we know who we like to work with, and naturally you start getting your ideal clients when you start putting out the kind of content that helps. And obviously Chris, mentioned last week one of our first inspirational speakers at one of our first summit. So love what you said there, Chris. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. The other thing to understand is if you own a technology, now you may be thinking, oh, trade show, I'm not into that because I'm an executive and I'm the buyer. The reality is I have a heart for vendors, okay? Number one is we're on both sides of it. Like we have, 212 properties across a few states that we take care of the real estate for personally. So this isn't like, we understand rent collection periods and we understand the pains. And so as a buyer, you don't have time to cut through the noise. But at the same time, you know, long time ago, it was like, and if I really get agitated when I hear this, but I say, I'm on the vendor side, I'm on the management side. I left the management side, went to the vendor side. There's no side. A company is a company. And so the question is, are you creating value for others or not? And if you are, you deserve everything, right? So if you think about vendors, okay, in the time when you couldn't do business, the government or local state or agencies told you couldn't do stuff, all of a sudden vendors were very important, right? So there's always been this sort of recorrection of like, now that the technology is and the innovation is happening in the vendor world, we're starting to realize like, hey, if I built a business to get today, I wouldn't build it the way we've got it. I would build, like, I can't tell you how many platforms that we have that solve major business challenges, and I'm on a subscription to it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, our whole podcast production team, we have our in-house filming and all that stuff, but we have a virtual platform that allows us to communicate with anybody around the world. And the reality is, you know, absent that technology, I would have to have a team.
A full team.
Right? So we'll talk a little bit about how that's impacting your business later, but what we want to talk about is the fact that you've got to think differently, right? And this is an opportunity to drive more results, more revenue, because we need our industry partners to actually thrive. Because, you know, if your stuff doesn't work and, you know, the company that, you know, deployed your thing isn't, you know, getting sales or getting results or growing their portfolio, then it's not going to help your ability to serve your residents, right? So think about that. I'm going to just let you know that this isn't new. You look at you look at infomercials, home shopping. They've been doing this for years, and people just like to see this stuff work. The good news is with video, you can do that. So go to exhibitorhall.com, check out what we've been working on
Hey Patrick,
for many years.
Gwen Burnell says, mastering when and how to pivot in business is the difference between success and failure today.
True, and a true talent mind right there, and definitely somebody to watch. You know, thinking about even products, we're talking about trade shows, but thinking about this pivot thing, it's like, you know, before it's like, hey, this product will do this, create this experience. Now it's like, hey, throw the lifesaver. This product will help you, right? Collect more, do this, do that, and at the same time, you know, make that pivot. So let me make a couple of other notes on trade shows. You should have been doing this before all of this anyway. And what I mean by that is I did some research here. Trade shows, and it's in my article, generate 600,000 tons of trash annually. So now you're a brand that can actually, in a you know, sustainable way, introduce a product without printing and shipping and paying union labor and doing all these things to move around the country. All the waste. I mean, just think about when you leave a trade show, all the flyers and the stuff around. Like, you don't have that anymore in a process where you can do it in a more meaningful and mindful way. Another thing is, we buy online, we get our food delivered now online, we get our groceries delivered online, we date online. We don't date online.
We better not be dating online.
You know, the point is, like, what are we doing, right, with this trade show idea, right? So, and then I might have mentioned this before, but the more complex your product is, the more time it takes to transfer the knowledge, right? That's why you have a coffee meeting, a dinner meeting, a demo meeting, a follow-up meeting, and then you got to meet with the people that those people were supposed to sell the product to, right? Maybe you sold it at the trade show, but then they go back to the home office and they're like, you've got the person inside the company that doesn't really understand all that you need to know, selling it to the board, and they fail, so then you miss an opportunity. But the big loss is that the customer doesn't get the right technology, doesn't get the right thing, and that's a breakdown, right? So with video and with these shows that we're producing, it's like, hey, listen, watch this and send this to your boss, send this to the person in charge, or the CEO's like, hey, that was awesome. I love what you're talking about. I love where you guys are going, and I know you're committed to this industry. I'm going to send this video to my team and then let my team watch it, so then the CEO doesn't have to go there and transfer the knowledge and sell it internally, all these types of things. So these are the things that we're trying to provide more efficiency for management companies, give them their time back, a platform that you can go for free and watch these shows, right? You can go to multifamilystudios.com. In the browse section, look for the swim lane, right, that says exhibitor hall, instead of it being like comedy or, you know, documentaries
yeah.
or what is it?
Continue watching.
Hallmark. No, I'm just kidding. Then it'll
channel.
say exhibitor hall, and you can see a collection of those shows, and those are the forward-thinking, innovative brands that we're already thinking about this in events. So, is that a lot?
No, it's great.
Am I passionate about that?
You are passionate about it, and I think it comes through, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
You're trying to help. All right. Any final thoughts on that, or?
No, I think that's it on the trade shows. Listen, email me, reach out to us, go to exhibitorhall.com, let us know what you think, and we're trying to be helpful and also think differently. And you know, the big idea in my article was, imagine the millions of dollars that they're spending chasing clients in all of these wrong ways. Imagine not spending that, right, and hiring a better engineer and making the product better. So think about that as multifamily executives. You know, it's great, big parties, all that stuff, but the reality is it's costing you better products, right? It's costing you the fees. And I told you this, look at all the press releases. Google multifamily leadership press releases. Look at the things that I talked about the next real estate bubble is not what you think, it's the sponsorship bubble, right? It is far too hard to introduce a product in this industry. It is too costly, and we've got sometimes, you know, in some cases, people can't reinvest in their product development because they're chasing clients in these inefficient ways. And so we're trying to solve for that, and we already have a lot of great support with that. And we just want to encourage those prop tech companies. You guys are thinking there. A lot of our innovative multifamily companies are already thinking there, but we now have a platform that can actually support them. So that's my final thoughts on
great.
Trade Show.
Hey, Abby Huffman says that she appreciates your passion. So thank you, Abby. That's great. Thanks for chiming in there. All right, we have some good news, and I love good news. This is one of my favorite segments. If you have your own good news.
Can we invite the good news? But then, because I have one more thing on the cloud. I did make a promise. So that was the second part of the thing. But let's talk about doing the good news.
Let me invite the good news, and then we'll come back to the good news. So if you have good news, I want to know about it. And it's easy to do that. Go to live.multifamilystudios.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you're going to see a button that says Submit Good News. Hit that button and tell me all about it. You can give me your press releases, videos, photos, whatever it is, promotions. We like it centered on people. We are in a people business, and our passion is people. So if your people are getting promoted, if you're hiring, if they are winning awards, they're doing social outreach, anything like that, let us know. We want it. And now we're going to talk about the cloud.
Okay, so awesome. And we do have some great good news coming up about a company that's doing something awesome. I love it. But before I get there, my statement was the cloud isn't eating jobs, it's eating departments. So I want you to think about this. Like in our studio, we don't have cubicles lined up with accountants, right? We have a cloud-based service, and behind that cloud is a team of badass accountants.
Yes.
Date certain reporting, and I can scale the business like this, I can go like this, I can go like this, it doesn't matter. I know management companies that are started recently, and I'm not talking companies that have baked into their old strategies. I'm talking about new innovative leaders coming together that are starting a new management company, and they can go from 2,000 units to 25,000 units like that because they have this way of re-envisioning the way that they do their accounting. They're thinking differently
That's right.
about the business. But cloud is definitely eating. It's almost like, I remember back in the day when we had to, I literally was doing websites for companies, like when they had, they were getting email addresses.
Right.
And it's like AOL and all those days, right? And I would literally sell people on the idea, like, you need a website. And they're like, oh, we have one on forrent.com. And I'm like, no, yeah, yep, that's that's not a website. And we have to educate them. And that shift was like, well, we're getting leads from that, and that's working, but they don't know what they're missing in terms of controlling the brand and all these things. And at the time, it was complicated. You have to hire a web designer, and like nobody in the industry was doing this, other than 365. They were early on doing this stuff. But the reality was you had to go out, find a web designer, go out, find a graphic designer, and then get them to talk, and then you would build it, and then in 2 years, new property manager, and then you wouldn't know who built the thing, and you couldn't fix it, and there was frustrations on how to actually get it done. But there was that period of time where the industry went through a shift, and that shift is like we're never really, when the thing that presents itself, it's never really that obvious. Right. Like even an email, the shift to that, and right now, AI and the cloud is that. Like imagine not having email today. That's what the cloud and AI is going to feel like in years to come. And that's you thought it was accelerating, now with the companies have been tested. This means that they've tested their assumptions on what used to be possible. Like we tested our assumptions on our kids at school. Now we know what homeschooling looks like. We know what online learning looks like. So could we go back in a different way? So when things go back, it's going to be coming back different. It's not going to be coming back like you used to have it. So don't be scared, but think about this. This is your opportunity, like I said earlier in the segment, to be that innovator, be that entrepreneur, to re-envision, look, this company wants to grow, the company wants to stay in business, serve its clients, serve its employees, and make an impact. You can be part of that, but you have to understand where things are going in order to do that. So cloud, for example, if you think about, there's still going to be people, but instead of me, even my accountants, they're not really doing the math anymore. They're just behind the cloud, and the computers automatically classifying the expenses, tagging it and doing these things because it knows, oh, this is a recurring transaction every month. It doesn't even require the accountant to know how to do that anymore. They're now using the technology. The accountants are now using the technology instead of doing the accounting. And by the way, look, I'm not trying to diminish the role of accounting because accounting is the single most important part of your business. It's like the steering wheel. But when things can get more efficient, now people can think about why is this happening instead of doing the data entry.
They have a broader picture of the whole thing probably because they're not sitting there, the calculators and doing all that. They have a better understanding. And so that's why I say test your assumptions. Even the designations that they're training you on, doing manual calculations on IRR and even cap rates and all those things. And I don't know if you've ever looked at a pro forma, but we're using models for this, Like I know how to do it. I know how to take the discount rate and give the investor all the information that they need to do to make educated decisions. But now you really need to know how to use the technology. So it's you as the leader behind the cloud using the technology. And if most people are afraid of it or uncertain about it or it's new, go all in and learn that thing and be that person that just continually goes up and then create some multiple flows of income. So through Multifamily Studios, it's basically trade show as a service, It's in a cloud, That's a cloud. We're bringing the trade show to you, So you don't have to download the softwares, go to the thing, we're bringing it to you. And so if you think about Uber, there's a cloud, a technology, but there's people behind it. There's a driver and a passenger. But the drivers don't have to worry where they're going because it's already mapped.
The drivers don't have to worry about how to pay because it's already figured out. You've got it set up.
Right.
And or the passengers, I'm sorry. And the drivers have a job or maybe a new job, right? But there was that period of time where it was like, this won't work. We're the taxi company and we have this license and regulations with this, and we have an agreement with the local whatever. But eventually it will get eaten, and you can either be part of it, right? Or you can be not part of it, right? And so start looking outside this industry for those opportunities. And so that's pretty much it on the cloud. Think differently, think bigger, and be that person for your company. They need you right now to be engaged, highly energized, showing up with the inspiration to bring other people together and make big things happen for them. Don't get your eye off the ball. Think about how to create value, and we'll come back to our good news.
Okay. All right, that was great. So like I said earlier, we have some good news from one of our best places to work multifamily companies. This is Morgan Properties. So we're really excited about this. Morgan Properties announced on Wednesday the launch of Morgan Cares, a program created to support local hospitals and food banks as they combat the COVID-19 pandemic in the U.S. Jonathan Morgan is the president of Morgan Properties, and he said, as a family business whose culture is deeply rooted in helping others, we are incredibly passionate about giving back to the communities in which we serve. We are in the midst of a global health crisis, and the only way to get through it is to come together and help those in need. Our size and scale awards us the unique opportunity to make a significant donation that will help support the critical hospitals and food banks who are selflessly serving on the front lines and keeping us safe. Morgan Properties is committed to doing our part to help these local communities since we are all in this together.
That's pretty awesome. I'm going to recap a little bit, not of that, what you said, but additionally, you got to go to Multifamily Biz to read this article or press release. It's definitely something to go through, and maybe you can model a program like that for your company. But they have something called the Hometown Heroes, and number one, they're doing exactly what I said, which is they're using social media to start recognizing employees, residents, vendors, local emergency professionals, personnel. And here's what they're doing, which is magical and in complete agreement with this, is that they're making those frontline employees, their own employees, their residents, the heroes, okay? And this is the one thing that we've failed as an industry, is we're trying to make the apartment owners the heroes to try and solve affordable housing. Oh, they only make 9 cents on the dollar. That's not what the world sees. I don't care what information you publish or produce, information does not transfer change or behavior. You've got to make a hero in order, someone else has got to be the hero for them to get bought in. That's just the human behavior, right? So it's the residents being the hero here, the employees being the heroes here, local emergency professionals being the heroes here, and you're giving your team something exciting to do and talk about that gets them focused on their own insecurities, uncertainties, and sometimes challenges. It's like, hey, focus on these others, amplify their success. Let's create some social media campaigns and really highlight what's awesome in the community. So again, Morgan Properties, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're one of our best places to work, multifamily.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one more thing on good news. We have recently published the best places to work multifamily for women on Multifamily Biz. There's 1.7 million growing monthly viewers to that website, and you can find the list on, just go to multifamilybiz.com. You'll see the logo right off to the right. Click the logo. You'll see all the lists going back to 2016, but you'll see the most recent published list for
women.
Best places to work multifamily for women. So definitely head over there, take a look at that, give those companies some love.
Absolutely.
Maybe send a note. They need a lift. Like, hey, awesome job with this. I know everything's going on, but hey, this is something to champion.
Absolutely. And that program is open for registration now. So if you'd like to be on that prestigious list or continue being on it if you already are, registration is open. You can visit bestplacesToWorkMultifamily.com. It has all of the information you need, the timelines, everything that you need to know. And we hope to see you. I think this year is going to be a big one.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year. Definitely no better time, and we've incorporated new responses for understanding how we, and not to change the rankings, but give the employers more data on how working from home, what that experience is like, how to, re-envision that, just get a pulse on that. And then also the COVID-19 response, how people feel about that. There's going to be special research around that. Again, those questions and facts do not impact the rankings, but they will be providing amazing content for those companies to go back and go, how did we do through this, and where can we recognize people in this process, and then also showcase our investors and attract other employees.
Right.
And we're still committed to this. We're not saying, oh, we're focused on transactions. It's still something that's important to us. And in order to actually be a best places to work multifamily, you have to actually go through the list and program to make that list. There's no other program that you can say that. And so we're excited to champion those companies. We do have some comments here over here on LinkedIn from Diana Chipres. Diana. Okay. Thank you for your ideas on optimizing our industry that is ever so evolving every day. That is never been a truer statement than right now, I think. Evolving every day. Yeah, and I love that. Like, what was it, Diana? So what Diana did there, she took action. And sometimes you're watching these things, and we can see how many people are viewing on different platforms, but sometimes it takes courage to say, hey, this or that, and that kind of thing. But everything that we do as leaders needs to start with action, because you don't need to go find the answer or the information. It's like, just take the action. When you take the action, observe what happens, like research and development. Like, hey, go out and risk, go out and fail. I mean, don't do things that are going to put you in life safety or in financial mess or anything like that, but like, have the courage, like, call the person. Don't let that pre-story you tell yourself, like, oh, they're too busy, oh, they're dealing with this problem, I'm not going to call them, or whatever that might be. Take that action, launch that product, do that thing, make it better, because the fact of sort of failing and then making it better is what makes it magical, and then certainly sweeter when it makes it happen. And over here on Facebook, Jamin has some good news. In Georgia, it looks like they're moving into phase 2. Oh, wow. So they are, they're now in 14 days of downward trajectory. He's talking about his lease ups, okay? He's like leasing them up faster than anybody. He's talking about phase 2, right? Oh, no, this is a different, okay. So he's just saying that everyone's doing what we're supposed to do to thwart the spread of COVID. And so now he's, I'm sure his management is ever evolving. I mean, because everyone was in that first initial shock period of, oh my goodness, how do we handle this? And then, handling it, right? Getting your processes in place. And now it's like, okay, now that you're comfortable here, let's go ahead and start, phase 2 of reopening things, and how does that change your management style, and what do you do with your people, and are they coming into the office, are they still at home? I'm sure it's just every day is a new day. Yeah, again, the importance of leadership through all of that. So, listen, we love you guys for not only sticking with us, but being part of multifamily, and it's our goal to, hopefully get you to think a little differently, provide some relief to maybe some monotony that might happen. And if we can be of any support, please reach out to us. We'd love to see you successful in multifamily. So absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining us. You can email us, as Patrick has said. We are accessible. You can find us on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, as you know. And we just are so appreciative of you spending some time with us today. So we will see you next week. All right. See you guys.